Let's talk about a feud for the ages, Donald Trump versus Walmart. It's the kind of headline you'd expect from a satirical news site, but this is real life, and the stakes are higher than you might think. Imagine a clash not just of personalities, but of economic philosophies, business empires, and the wallets of millions of Americans. In one corner you have Donald Trump, a former reality TV star who became president, a man who's never shied away from controversy or a good fight. He's wielding tariffs like thunderbolts, promising to protect American jobs and industries, and making bold claims about who really pays the price. In the other, there's Walmart, a retail behemoth so massive it could probably have its own flag, anthem, and maybe even a seat at the United Nations. With thousands of stores and millions of customers, Walmart isn't just a company. It's a cornerstone of American life. This isn't just a business spat, it's a drama playing out in the aisles of your local superstore, where everyday people are caught in the crossfire. Every price tag, every receipt, every shopping trip suddenly becomes part of a much bigger story. The battleground, the global economy, the weapon of choice, tariffs, those taxes on imported goods that can shake up supply chains, rattle markets, and change the way we all shop. The big question is deceptively simple. When the government slaps a tax on imports, who actually ends up footing the bill? Is it the foreign companies, the American businesses, or the everyday consumer? Is it China, as Trump claims? Or is it you, the shopper, as Walmart warns? The answer isn't just a matter of opinion. It's a question that affects the price of everything from electronics to groceries. This isn't just an economic debate for policy wonks or Wall Street analysts. It hits every American wallet, every family budget, and every shopping list. The impact is real, and it's personal. The saga really heated up in May 2025 when Walmart publicly warned that new tariffs on Chinese goods would mean higher prices for customers. Suddenly, the abstract world of international trade became a kitchen table issue. Trump, never one to back down, fired back on social media. He demanded that Walmart eat the tariffs, instead of passing the costs to shoppers, sparking a fierce debate about corporate responsibility and government policy. So the lines are drawn, political theater versus retail reality. On one side, a president rallying his base with tough talk. On the other, a company trying to keep prices low and customers happy. Buckle up. This is where economics gets personal, and the outcome could affect your next trip to the store, your family's budget, and maybe even the future of how America does business. Before we go further, let's break down a term you've probably heard a lot in the news lately: tariff. What exactly is a tariff, and why does it matter so much in global trade? Understanding tariffs is key to making sense of the headlines and the prices you see at the store. At its core, a tariff is a tax that a government places on goods coming into the country from abroad. Imagine it as a kind of entry fee or cover charge for products that want to cross the border and be sold here. This fee is added on top of the regular price of the imported item. The main idea behind tariffs is to make foreign goods more expensive, so that shoppers are more likely to choose products made in their own country. It's a way for governments to encourage people to buy local and support domestic businesses, rather than spending money on imports. But here's where things get interesting, and a bit confusing. The country exporting the goods, like China, doesn't actually pay the tariff. Instead, it's the company here in the US that's bringing those goods in that gets the bill. So, if a giant retailer like Walmart imports toys, electronics, or clothing from overseas, Walmart is the one who pays the tariff to the US government when those shipments arrive. For example, when a shipment of goods arrives from China, Walmart has to pay the import tax before those products can even make it onto the shelves. This happens at the port, long before you ever see the item in the store. Let's say a widget costs $10 to import, and there's a 30% tariff. That means Walmart pays an extra $3 in taxes for every widget. Multiply that by thousands or even millions of products and the costs add up fast. Now, Walmart and other importers have a choice. They can absorb the extra cost themselves, which cuts into their profits, or they can pass that cost on to you, the customer, by raising prices on the shelves. When President Trump announced a 60% tariff on certain Chinese goods, later reduced to 30%, it wasn't China that got the invoice. It was American companies, big and small, that had to pay up front. For a retailer importing billions of dollars worth of goods from China, these tariffs can mean a massive increase in costs. It's like getting hit with a surprise bill that can run into the millions or even billions. Tariffs aren't just abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. They can feel like a financial meteor crashing into a company's bottom line, forcing tough decisions about jobs, prices, and what products to stock. And in the end, the impact doesn't just stay with the companies, it lands right in your shopping cart, showing up as higher prices for everyday items, from groceries to gadgets. That's the heart of this conflict, a tug of war over who pays, who profits, and who ultimately feels the pinch: businesses, governments, or you, the consumer. The fireworks started during Walmart's May 2025 earnings call. CEO Doug McMillon warned, "If tariffs make goods pricier, prices will rise." Trump, on Truth Social, accused Walmart of blaming tariffs and insisted they eat the tariffs instead of charging customers. This was more than a policy debate. It was a public command for a private company to absorb government-imposed costs. Trump's message: Walmart is greedy. They could just take the hit. Reality: tariffs are a cost imposed by the government, not a corporate choice. Walmart's razor-thin margins mean absorbing a 30% tax isn't feasible. They can negotiate with suppliers, but there's a limit. In the end, pressure at one end of the pipe comes out the other, usually in the form of higher prices. The stage was set for a showdown between political messaging and economic math. To see why Walmart can't just eat the tariffs, let's peek under the hood and really understand how their business works. Walmart is often seen as a retail giant, a company so big that it seems like nothing could shake it. But when you look closer, the reality is much more delicate than it appears. Walmart's revenue is massive, over $165 billion in a single quarter. That's more than the GDP of some small countries. Their stores are always bustling, and the sheer volume of products moving through their doors is staggering. But here's the catch. Despite all that cash flowing in, their profit margins are razor thin. After all expenses, wages, rent, utilities, logistics, and more, their net profit margin is less than 3%. That means for every $100 they bring in, they keep less than $3 as actual profit. For every dollar sold, they keep just a few cents. It's a business built on scale, not on big markups. Every penny counts, and there's very little room for error. Now imagine a 30% tariff slapped onto the cost of goods they import. This isn't a tax on their profits. It's a tax on the actual cost of the products they sell, which is a much bigger slice of the pie. That kind of increase doesn't just eat into their margin, it wipes it out entirely, and then some. Suddenly, the math no longer works in their favor. Asking Walmart to absorb tariffs means asking them to sell at a loss. No company, no matter how large, can sustain that for long without serious consequences. Their entire business model is built on low prices and high volume. If they're forced to raise prices, they risk losing customers. If they don't, they lose money on every sale. Pointing to their total profits ignores the reality. It's a game of pennies on every sale. The numbers may look huge, but the cushion is tiny. A sudden, massive tax like this breaks the model. It's not just a bump in the road, it's a potential disaster for their bottom line. It's not about greed. It's about survival. Even the biggest companies have limits, and Walmart is no exception. No business can lose money on its main products for long. If forced to do so, stores close, jobs disappear, and communities are affected. That's the math behind the headlines, and why the impact of tariffs goes far beyond just the numbers on a balance sheet. So who actually pays for tariffs? Trump says China does, but that's not how it works. Tariffs are paid by American importers. Walmart writes the check, not Beijing. China already got paid for the goods. The importer faces three choices: eat the cost, negotiate with suppliers, or pass it to customers. With slim margins, eating the tariff isn't sustainable. Suppliers might budge a little, but not enough to offset a 30% tax. So the cost lands on you, the shopper. That $10 widget now costs $13 for Walmart, and you'll see the price jump at the register. Tariffs act as a regressive tax, hitting lower and middle-income families hardest. The patriotic story of making China pay is a myth. The real bill is paid by American households. That's the uncomfortable truth. Walmart isn't just sitting back. They've been diversifying their supply chain for years. They've shifted some sourcing from China to countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico. By 2024, only 60% of Walmart's imports came from China, down from 80% in 2018, but moving supply chains is slow and complex. New factories, new logistics, new risks. And Trump's new tariffs didn't just target China. A 10% baseline tariff hit all imports, with even higher rates for Vietnam and India. So when Walmart tries to dodge a 30% China tariff by buying from Vietnam, they get hit with a 46% tariff instead. It's a global game of whack-a-mole, and every move costs more. The policy punishes companies for diversifying, trapping them between higher costs everywhere. No matter where they turn, prices go up. Walmart's not alone. Major companies like Target, Apple, and Lowe's are all sounding the alarm. Hundreds of America's biggest firms have warned that tariffs mean higher prices and more inflation. Economists agree. A 60% tariff could push inflation up by nearly a full percentage point. That means higher interest rates, pricier loans, and a drag on the whole economy. Companies are more resilient post-pandemic, but no one can absorb a 30% tax overnight. This isn't just a corporate complaint, it's a self-inflicted wound on the entire economy. The pain will be felt far beyond Walmart's aisles. What does this mean for you? Prices rise, not just for big-ticket items, but for everyday essentials. The cost of living creeps up, especially for families relying on affordable retailers. Some products may disappear from shelves if they become too expensive to import. Higher prices mean less money for other spending, slowing the economy. Most Americans work in retail or services, not manufacturing. When retailers are squeezed, it can mean slower wage growth or even layoffs. The policy meant to protect jobs could end up costing more jobs elsewhere. It's a risky economic gamble with real consequences for real people. The impact lands right in your shopping basket. In the end, the Trump versus Walmart showdown exposes the reality of tariffs, their attacks on American consumers. Demanding companies eat the tariffs is political theater, not economic strategy. The promise of everyday low prices is threatened by everyday high taxes. The people hurt most are working-class Americans. For the economy, it means more uncertainty, higher inflation, and strained supply chains. The goal may be to punish China, but the immediate cost is paid at the checkout. Walmart is the canary in the coal mine. Its warning is clear. In a trade war, the first casualties are found in the shopping aisles.